So recently, a U.S. senator or congressman or whatever has introduced a bill that would make loot boxes and microtransactions illegal, which I'm all for. His reasoning is that loot boxes and microtransactions are targeted at children, which causes them to spend money, theirs or their parents, as they are getting addicted to gambling mechanics. I myself could not care less about that. I feel whatever a person does with their money is their business. However, I know of people that have gambling addictions, so in those cases they should be seeking help. Now, Matt Pat over at Game Theory had a two-part episode about how loot boxes work and gambling practices. Long story short, your brain releases the pleasure chemical dopamine from the excitement of opening a random thing. Not getting what you want can cause the sunk cost fallacy, where if you keep losing, you keep spending money because if you walk away, then you lost all that time and money on an investment, and casinos do manipulate you into paying more with flashing lights and sounds, and incentives like free food to keep you playing. He compares loot boxes to baseball and magic cards, and how that they always give you something, which is why card packs and loot boxes are not gambling because there's no zero loss. Which is where I say he's wrong, and I'm going to prove that he's wrong, and also prove why loot boxes should be considered gambling and should be regulated. Alright, so for this experiment, I bought a set of YuGiOh Dual Power, which costs $30. The incentive to buying the set are the sought-after reprints, alternate artworks of cards used by the anime series protagonists, and the cardboard dual mat, plus all the cards are printed in ultra rare. Now, the card that I'm looking for is Chaos Magician. That's the one card out of the set that I want, so I open up one pack, then the second pack, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and finally the sixth. I did not get the card that I wanted, nor did I get any of the highly sought after cards. So while yes, this was a $30 gamble, and I lost, I still have 30 cards that have value themselves. They are tangible. I can sell these cards. I can trade these cards to get the ones that I want. The point is, I can do something, anything, with these cards. I can do the same with baseball cards, magic cards, Pokemon cards. It's not a lottery system, as these cards have value that may go up or down depending on the metagame, or just who wants it for collector's purposes or whatever. Unlike a casino or lottery, there was no flashing lights, there was no sound or music, there was nothing to really get my brain to react excitedly for the anticipation of me getting the card that I wanted. Even if I had bought a regular booster pack, the chances of me getting a rare and super rare are 100%. Ultra rare and secret rares have a much lower chance of appearing. At time of writing, when it comes to ultra rares, you have a 1 in 6 chance, while secret rares have a 1 in 12 chance of appearing. So you can buy an entire box of booster packs and know that you're getting 2 secrets and 6 ultras out of the 24 packs in the box. In Magic the Gathering, the ratio of mythic rares are 1 out of 8, and masterpieces are 1 out of 144. I'm not that much of a Magic player like I used to be, so you hardcore Magic players, be gentle when correcting me. When the cards are made, they are printed on predetermined sheets. So each sheet is always the same, but after the cards are cut, they are randomized through a machine. The machine is set so that each box of boosters have a certain amount of rarities in them. Then they are randomized even more when the cards are shipped, and randomized again when they get to the stores, either by employees unknowingly putting them on the shelf, or in some card stores, knowingly randomizing the packs in the box by shuffling them, or letting customers pick the packs out of the box themselves. So instead of grabbing from the top, they may grab from the bottom or the middle. Now when it comes to loot boxes, it's another story and completely different in that regard. And to prove this, I bought 11 Overwatch loot boxes for $10. Just like the card packs, there's a random chance of an item that I want already at this screen with the loot box. There's this holy aura sound coming from the box, and it's glowing with glitter and these white gold looking lights coming from it, as if to say that you're going to get something really good. So you open the box, it makes these loud cranking sounds and explodes, shooting things into the air and plops them onto the ground with fanciful music. And when the crate hits the ground, it does so with a heavy thump, as if to say that it's filled with good stuff. So I get a few skins, some voice lines and sprays, and some in-game currency. And here's the real difference between loot boxes and card packs. These items in the loot boxes, I did not want a single one of those 44 items that I received. I cannot trade them to other Overwatch players. I cannot sell them to other Overwatch players. I cannot sell them for real world money. Nor can I sell them for in-game currency. These items in the loot boxes have nothing. Zip. Nada. Dick. Absolutely zero value, and I am stuck with them. Now, the game giving me the in-game currency is even more insidious than me not getting anything. Because while I got 150 coins, which is considered an epic value, the epic items are 250 coins. And when they run special events, the items for that event are 3 times those prices. So they are trying to entice you to buy more loot boxes to try and gamble for those items you want, or to grind out the currency to outright buy the item. And by that time, you've probably spent at least 50 bucks. The Overwatch loot boxes have a ratio of winning. You're always guaranteed a rare, but 1 in 6 contain an epic and 1 in 14 contain a legendary. However, we do not know if that is the case when it comes to the Americas or Europe. But those are definitely the odds in China, as they were forced to give out the odds. But this adds another issue to loot boxes. The developers of the game do not want to disclose the ratios of getting the sought after items, and they refuse to do it unless they're forced to. Even lotteries tell you the odds of winning, which is like 1 in 300 million due to the combination of possible numbers. You can look up the odds to winning at craps, blackjack, and roulette, and the casinos cannot rig their games in their favor because then they could lose their license, and the odds are already in their favor as it is. For example, you only have a 42% chance to win at roulette if you bet on black or red, because the ball can land on the opposite color, or the green ones, which is an automatic loss. Gambling is regulated by the government to ensure that the odds are fair, either on the federal or the state levels. And if you were to go into a casino, you exchange cash for casino tokens or chips. Before leaving, you exchange whatever tokens you have back into money. And if you're in a big casino town, you may even be able to use the tokens for certain services, like tipping waiters or taxis. But it's an informal honoration in that case, because they have to go back to the casino where the token is from to exchange it for money. And because loot boxes aren't regulated, they can change the odds at any time they wish through updates and adding content, and there's no one to tell them no. And finally, what happens to all those items you got when the games get shut down? All that money you paid for all those items is gone. You cannot enjoy those items again because these games are mostly online. So when support for them ends, the server shuts down and you can no longer log in and play. If Konami or Wizards of the Coast came in and said they were stopping Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic and dropping all support for it, that would cause a huge uproar. But people would still be able to play the game. They would have their own events, maybe set their own rules, and do whatever they wanted. But if Konami or Wizards of the Coast started breaking into people's homes to take all the cards that they've collected over the course of the lifetime of the game and shutting down fan events and sites to essentially scrub the world of the card game as if it never existed, you'd be outright pissed off. You paid for those cards, and now you're being told that you can't even play the game anymore. All that money you spent over the years, wasted. And I'm pretty sure that's illegal too, because they would be stealing your property. So you really cannot make the comparison of loot boxes and card games being the same thing. When it comes to that $30 set of cards that I bought, after looking up the prices of the cards in the packs, which is about $17.50, plus the promo cards, which are about $1.39, it equals to an estimated value of $18.54. So accounting for sales tax, I spent a total of $31.89, so I have a loss of $13.35. While it sounds like I lost money because we're looking at it from a gambling perspective, there's a major difference. Because these are cards, there are options available to me. I can sell them and I can make some money back. I can trade them and get cards that I want, as these cards might have a higher value to someone else, which doesn't coincide with the retail price of the cards. Or I can hold on to them for a collection, or I can hold on to them until the metagame changes and raises the value of the cards. If it was straight up gambling, I would have to take the loss of $13.35. I would have zero choice in the matter. But because I physically have these cards, I have at least 4 options available to me. Loot boxes fall into the category of gambling. Because the items you get from them cannot be traded or resold, you are stuck with them and have no choice. You have to take the loss. I have to take that $10 loss because I can't do anything with these items. And the odds continue to become stacked against you because the developers keep adding content to the game. If we go back to the time that Sombra was released and you wanted that legendary skin, again, at the time, that is 1 out of roughly 2,260 items. And if the odds of a legendary are 1 in 14, then the odds are 4 out of 31,640, because you get 4 items per box. That is a 0.00012,642% chance of getting that one skin you want. But now, your odds are even slimmer, because they added Orisa, Doomfist, Moira, Bridget, Wrecking Ball, Ash, and Baptiste. So now that is 1 item out of 2,850. So now that is 1 item. So then when you redo the math, you now have a 4 in 39,900 chance to get that one skin you want, which is now a 0.000100025% of a chance. And remember, this is just the odds from what China got when Activision released that information. We don't know if that's the same odds for America or Europe. And your chances continue to decrease as they add characters and skins for existing characters or add more characters. So not only is this gambling, it's worse than gambling because the odds of getting the items you want decreases the more content is added to the game. So to wrap this up, card games and sports cards are not gambling because the cards are not only tangible, each card has its own value that is determined by the market, which is third-party sellers. The cards you obtain from packs can be sold for money, traded to other people for cards that you want. They can be collected or stored until their value goes up. If you lose money from it, it is possible to turn that loss into a gain later on, basically turning a short-term loss into a long-term gain. It's probably closer to the stock market more than anything. Or you can just buy the specific cards that you're looking for instead of relying on random chance. There are no lights or sounds to encourage you to keep buying packs. Nothing externally is manipulating you to make you feel good about opening the packs. You can even return unopened card packs if the store allows it. You may get one of those mom and pop shops where they have the all sales are final type of rule. But you are always getting something of value and your odds remain fairly consistent. Loot boxes are not only gambling, but in fact worse, because the items in the game are not tangible. They cannot be sold, they cannot be traded to other people playing the same game, so they have zero value, and if you didn't get what you wanted, you lost money, and you cannot even get a fraction of it back, as again, the items cannot be sold or traded. Currency given from duplicate items or in-game currency awarded is 50% less than the value of the same rarity status. That way it encourages you to buy more loot boxes. You cannot just pay money for the skins you want. You are forced to invest in this loot box system, which is essentially a fancy racketeering operation because they created a problem and are selling you a solution. They use fancy special effects and sounds to encourage you to keep spending money on loot boxes. The odds are constantly being manipulated, and they are not transparent about it. And some of these games, they will pop up to remind you or give you free stuff to encourage you to play and spend more. You cannot refund unopened loot boxes. You're stuck with them. And the more content that is added continues to decrease your odds of getting what you want. And finally, if the game is shut down or abandoned or whatever the developer does to make sure that you cannot play it anymore, all that money is gone. So all those skins that you paid for, gone. At that point, the developers and publishers have effectively stolen your money. And no matter which way you spin it, with the whole loot box system, you are always, always, always going to be taking a loss in the end, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is why loot boxes have to be regulated. They have to have their odds of obtaining an item disclosed publicly. They shouldn't be allowed to manipulate the odds in their favor by adding more content so you buy more boxes. Additionally, they should not be allowed to shut down a game. The only exception to this would be if the property owner of the game goes out of business. For example, Activision Blizzard cannot and should not be allowed to shut down Overwatch because they want to replace it with a new version or because it's losing money. Activision's only excuse for shutting down Overwatch would be because the company itself is shutting down and going out of business. And even then, they should have the source code for the game be public so that fans of the game can set up their own private servers, or allow another service like Steam or Epic to take over and allow people to migrate their accounts over to those services while maintaining their current items. Otherwise, all these customers who paid hundreds of dollars for in-game items are going to be extremely pissed because they spent all that money for nothing. It's the equivalent of exchanging money for a casino token and then the casino shutting down, kicking you out, and never letting you back in to exchange your tokens back into cash, which I'm pretty sure would end up with someone getting the pantsuit off of them. And I know that someone is saying, well, you're calling for the regulation of video games. No, straw man, I'm not. Loot boxes are not and will never be a means of artistic expression because they are designed to be predatory. They are designed to get someone hooked and to keep spending. That's why they give you free ones, just to give you a taste, so you get hooked on it like drugs, which brings me to the next subject. The same thing goes for these stupid mobile games. They give you a bunch of currency that you need to actually do anything with in the game, and they have you make a big purchase with them in the tutorial, so you see that big rewarding, and that's rewarding with massive air quotes, thing happen. They do it with big sounds and fanciful music and lights and explosions going off everywhere to give you that dopamine dose. I remember trying Clash of Clans. 5 minutes into the tutorial, it wanted me to purchase their Monopoly money to do something, and I immediately uninstalled the game because it wouldn't let me skip that portion of the game. It was holding my progress ransom on purpose. At least Dungeon Keeper Mobile gives you that second minion for free during the tutorial. At least it did back when it was released. I don't know about now. And does anyone even play it now because people were so disgusted with it? If loot boxes are gambling, then microtransactions for in-game currency are drugs. They give you a taste of what the actual currency does so that you continually spend real money to get it. It creates an addiction cycle. You spend real money from Monopoly money so you get that high of progressing through the game, and when that Monopoly money runs out, you pay more Monopoly money to take another hit to keep your high going. There's this whole war on drugs and opioid epidemic that the government wants to take care of, and it's destroying lives. There's people out there against the pharmaceutical companies for pushing highly addictive medications that are expensive because they started the opioid problem because it was profitable, and they tried hiding and dodging that responsibility because they've been having doctors prescribe the drugs and pushing them to do so. And there's doctors going to jail for pushing insane amounts of opioids, just like the drug dealers selling meth. They're monetizing an addiction. Game publishers and developers are doing the same thing with these games that are filled to the brim with pay-to-win microtransactions. You win in the sense that the game plays music and sparkles for you for tapping a button, so you get that dopamine high. You feel good, so you spend more, and you think you're progressing when you're not. And also worse, they create a problem, which is other players coming in and destroying your town or base or whatever the game is, depending on whatever. So that way you pay the developers more to rebuild it back to what it was. So not only are you paying them to build stuff, you're paying them again to repair and fortify that stuff because of a problem they created. The amount of times you hear someone emptying their bank account or maxing out credit cards for loot boxes and pay-to-win microtransactions is about the same you hear for people who have gambling problems or problems with drugs and alcohol. And their stories are even sounding the same. But there's no support groups for people who are addicted to loot boxes or pay-to-win microtransactions. I remember the story of the guy who spent over $20,000 on that game that Kate Upton was used for the commercials in. He even got a second job just to pay for that game because he was so addicted to it. Where's his support group? Where's his rehab? Oh wait, there isn't any for that. Then there's Activision's patent for pairing you up with players with better gear or gear you don't have, so that way you'll see them being better than you, so you head on over to their in-game store to buy that stuff so you could be on the same level as they are. It's all very predatory. And of course, governments are going to look into it. While some have deemed them not gambling, others have, and parental controls don't always work. Kids do manage to get around them. So you know that the ESA, the lobbying firm for the game industry, is very much cherry-picking their defense when it comes to loot boxes and pay-to-win mechanics. And of course they did, and they can't wait to share that information with government officials. And when you have these companies talking about people who spend money on microtransactions or loot boxes being referred to as whales, dolphins, and minnows, how is that not clearly being predatory? It's dehumanizing. It's purposely done so this way you don't think of them as people but as animals. Or when they use words like there's more wood to chop or meat to grind. These are terms that are meant to dehumanize their customers so this way they can't feel guilty about their ill-gotten gain. And I'll end it with this. Don't fire the CEO of Activision Blizzard, Bobby Kotick. Send him to jail.